All right. I guess we do not get an intro like everyone else.
That's all right. We don't need it.
But if you guys are in here, welcome to Crunch Time, where we answer all your start sick questions. Broto Fantasy. I'm joined by the greatest Marvel Snap player in history, Nick, better known as Bick. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, man. Not too good because I'm watching this atrocious Patriots Colts game right now.
Yeah, it's not.
Um, but outside of that, pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I'm having a good time. It's getting a little chilly up here in New York, so everyone's getting sick. I gotta shout out Matt Ward, our resident host of Crunch Time. He is feeling a little ill. Unfortunately, could not make it. So hoping he feels better. And if anyone else is feeling sick right now with this disgusting weather change right now, feel better. Watch some football, have some soup,
Mm.
and let's get right into it. Um, Not a whole lot of news to cover today. I mean, obviously, Kyler Murray's going to be coming back for that game against the Falcons. James Conner also set to return. Um, Jamar Chase has been warming up. It looks like he's expected to play this week. Um, we got Dave. We got B Vic 22 in the chat. What is going on, guys? Let's make sure to share this on Twitter so I can if I can even figure out how, right? I'm like a doofus. We had so many technical difficulties because it's my first time hosting. So yeah, we'll see if this works. All right,
I
let's
believe.
share this link. Vic, you got anything to say about the upcoming games? Any start sick questions of your own?
Not really with some big buys this week and injuries that I'm dealing with. I'm kind of just forced into all my lineup decisions, but I'm honestly pretty stoked about Kyler Murray and James Conner coming back at the same time. I was trying to trade for Hollywood Brown all week, but I probably should have been trying to do it like last week.
Yeah.
Um, I sent someone Addison for Hollywood straight up, and he wouldn't take it. And in a league that I'm in with Boyd, which is one of our other writers, he's like, "Fuck it, I'll try that trade," and he pulled it off, and he traded away Addison for Hollywood Brown, and I think it's a good move. But I'm really excited to see how that whole situation shakes out. And I mean, we may have some Kyler Murray questions come in today. I'm starting Kyler Murray where I have him. Once again, kind of like a bye week thing. I have Jalen Hurts in a league, so I'm going to start Kyler Murray. Obviously, I have really not much of another choice, but I mean, I just think he's a plug and play QB1. Everyone talks about his lack of legs and stuff like that. Lack of legs with the ACL tear. We don't know how it's going to go. But Breece Hall came back off an ACL and ran for like 100 yards in his first game back or whatever it was. Like, I'm pretty sure Matt on the Heat Wave or something way back when was talking about how Kyler Murray is like a 20 points per game scorer without even putting his legs into the equation. Like he is just a good passer and he's got the weapons to do so. So I think he's a plug and play quarterback this week personally, but that can be a discussion for another time if it comes down to it.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of people asking, should I start Kyler Murray over this guy or this guy or this guy? And like you said, ACL tear obviously can be a concern, but we've seen Breece Hall have a great recovery from it. Just unfortunate the offensive line can't really do their part every week.
Right.
We do have our first question. Big freaking Will. Good morning, fellas. Good morning. How do you guys feel about Michael Wilson with Kyler starting today? Nick, why don't you start us off?
Generally, I'm not going to start Michael Wilson this week. However, in my notes, I'm pretty sure I had something about. So I said firing up Kyler, Connor, Hollywood, McBride, ... picking up Michael Wilson if he's available. So I think that Michael Wilson is an interesting stash with Kyler back. We saw Dobbs force feeding McBride and Hollywood and not really getting much else and not necessarily being super productive. But, I think he's shown flashes of being solid, and we know how rookie wide receivers tend to pick it up in the back half of the season. So, I think he's a much more viable fantasy option than Rondale Moore the rest of the way. And we'll see how it plays out. I think we could see him pick up steam and, put up a Josh Downs type of production, maybe. Hope not this week's Josh Downs, because it's been abysmal if you're not Jonathan Taylor in that offense. But generally speaking, I'm not starting Michael Wilson this week. I mean, depending on the options, maybe, but very unlikely. But long term for the rest of the season, I'm pretty interested in him as a prospect.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Michael Wilson, obviously, like a very kind of big play guy, very risky. Never going to feel super confident with him, like you said, like Trey McBride and Marquise Brown. I really don't think it matters who the quarterback is. Those guys are going to feast. The Atlanta Falcons are pretty beatable through the air, so maybe see some deep shots to him. I don't know, like, are you considering starting him, or is it more kind of just like a way to like look at him, kind of just keep an eye out on him? Is it a DFS play? Because you need Clay for that stuff. He's the genius. When it comes to DFS, I'm lost.
Yeah.
But I do think, if I'm going to start him, it might be with Kyler Murray. I think it was a couple weeks ago where he had another good matchup that I was really excited for. And it looks like he's kind of surpassing Rondale Moore. The only thing is Rondale Moore was getting more work as a rusher, I think, around the time James Conner went down. So perhaps he gets more in the mix as a pass catcher.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know. It's going to be such a confusing situation, very high risk, high reward for at least the next couple of weeks while we get more information. Rudy, good morning, guys. Good morning, Rudy. Should I start James Cook over Gibbs full PPR? David Montgomery is coming back. That's another piece of news I didn't mention. Obviously Gibbs looked phenomenal as like the feature back, basically. Is this going to be a situation like DeAndre Swift, where the injury leads to him getting more touches down the line? Or is it going to be a situation where they just go back to feeding David Montgomery?
We don't know, right? We don't know. We can make assumptions based on the way that Jahmyr Gibbs has played in the past few weeks without David Montgomery. If they go back to a 60-40 or only using him with like passing work and limited, like, I don't see them doing that personally. He's been too electric. He's been making plays left and right. I'm starting Jahmyr Gibbs in this situation because I think even with David Montgomery, he might get more touches than James Cook. And he's more likely to get productive, more valuable touches with receptions than James Cook. So yeah, I would. I'm going Gibbs here. I'm not. Obviously, I'd prefer David Montgomery not be back, but I just think he's cemented a role. And even if he's like getting limited work, which obviously they're going to split touches, it's going to go down from what it was, but he's going to be getting the receiving work at the bare minimum. And I just think that's so valuable. And with the volatility of the Bills running game this year and how they just choose to fucking throw 35 times, even if they're up, I just can't trust him. I like the matchup. I like the matchup for James Cook, but I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs in this situation.
Yeah, it's tough because, James Cook, I think it's the Monday night game. The Bills are like about 7.5 point favorites right now against what is basically the worst rushing defense. Obviously, that Dolphins game is still probably having its like effects on it because they ran for like 300 yards. But in terms of true matchup rank, I'm looking over here. They are the best matchup for running backs for fantasy. However, Chargers against the Lions coming off the bye, they're 15th for running backs in terms of true matchup rank, but they're especially good. They're 7th if it's when it comes to receiving workloads, which we seem to believe that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have over David Montgomery most of the time. I think James Cook, even with the competition and the volatility of the Bills' offense in terms of like what they decide to do, I think he has such high potential for like a 30-point game. But the thing is, can I really trust him for a 30-point game? Like, do I want to risk like, a 7-point game while Jahmyr Gibbs gets like a pretty solid, maybe like 15, 16 points? I really don't know. I mean, I feel more inclined to just trust the talent in Gibbs. It's really hard to bench James Cook in this matchup, despite the concerns. I mean, if you're able to fit both of them, obviously I'd love to fit both of them, but I assume this is a pretty tough like RB2 situation. And if one can't get into your flex, one can't get into your flex. I'm going to slightly Gibbs just as more of a safe play.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I think the upside is there too. Yeah, I mean, Gibbs can go he can go 7 for 76.
He can,
like,
yeah,
like through the air. He can give you 15 fantasy points just through the air. So like, I don't know. I understand why you're like on the fence. I think it's pretty easily Gibbs, but both can produce, both can be good. I say this every week. Like, this is a pretty good situation to be in. I think they're both going to put up a decent amount, but I just think Gibbs is he's just shown that he's really fucking good. So I'm going Gibbs here, like I said.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Charles Kearney, happy week 10, everyone. Charles, great to see you back. Happy week 10. Alejandro, start 2 full PPR, JSN, Rachaad White, James Conner in his return, and Chris Godwin.
This is a quick one for me, honestly. I'm going Rachaad White and I'm going James Conner. And that's that for me. I know JSN is in a smash matchup. It's still a crowded room, and I know he's been playing better lately, but I'm not benching Rachaad White with the way his usage has been lately. And Tennessee has been, they started the year very stout against the run, but have been much more friendly to it in the past 4 or 5 weeks. And James Conner, when he's in the lineup, I'm just starting him. I'm just blindly starting him, especially with the return of Kyler Murray. It feels like lazy, but sometimes I just don't think we have to overthink these situations. And Chris Godwin isn't really a factor here, especially because he's dealing with illness and he's expected to play. But I don't like a last minute illness. You're talking about the New York weather and how things are yucky and everybody's sick. And it's like, yeah, I just don't want to mess with that. I wouldn't start Godwin in this situation, even if he were fully healthy. But so I think it's Rachaad White and James Conner. And if you have an argument on JSN, I'd love to hear it. But that's just how I'm going.
I do think James Conner is one of the better plays here. Chris Godwin, I actually would start him if he was fully healthy, but it does seem like he is a very big concern. Facing the Titans, one of the friendliest pass defenses, just because they're so strong against the run. The Bucs are about 2.5-point favorites at home. Maybe they can, run away with it a little bit. I think Baker can play pretty decently at times. But I think now with like Will Levis there, they're going to be challenging them just a bit. Bucs defense is good though. So, they could stifle the rookie quarterback. The Steelers got to him quite a bit. But between Rachaad White and JSN, I love Rachaad White. And I think he had a great week last week.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these are both 2 players who I wouldn't be surprised to see get like 2 points on the week. But I'm really interested in like the cornerback battle, or I guess the passing games between Washington and Seattle this week, just because I think this is going to be a super high scoring game. Washington's corners just haven't been able to stop anything. Obviously, JSN as a rookie is going to be volatile. We're going to see down games, even if he has like a great streak and we see him get involved in the offense. It's just the nature of being a rookie. I'm gonna slightly lean JSN there. I think James Conner is the start in his return.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like there's anything like any setbacks for him. I'm sure they'd prefer to not have to use him as much if they can afford to, but at the same time, he's clearly their bell cow. They weren't afraid to give him a bunch of touches last year or this year before the injury. So,
well, yeah. So you're saying JSN and Conner? Is that what you think?
I'm slightly leaning JSN over Rachaad White, and then I'm agreeing with Conner here.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's valid. I mean, Rachaad White has been mega, mega, mega inefficient on the ground, but like I was talking about with Gibbs before, he's just a PPR cheat code. Just getting so much usage through the air lately. So I wouldn't expect Rachaad White. You'll probably see 12 carries for 36 yards, but you're banking on the catches in that situation, maybe fall into the end zone. So I mean, I think JSN is a solid pivot. It's just that with the way Rachaad White's been playing lately, I have a really hard time benching him. And I was a Rachaad White fan until I saw that offense this year, and I don't love it as much as I used to. But, you know, yeah, I think Connor is the for sure. And then I'm still going Rachaad White, but I understand JSN, especially with the way he's been ascending lately and the smash matchup.
It might be like a touchdown that really sets JSN apart. And, do you want to rely on that? Maybe not. Even if you projected a lot of points,
Right.
It's hard to say like that JSN is going to get more. I don't know the red zone numbers off the top of my head, but I can't imagine he's like the premier red zone threat there. So I see why Rachaad White actually might offer more safety as well, and could just like sneak in a touchdown too. Alejandro says apparently Godwin has an illness today, but still expected to play. Yeah, we covered that. Charles Kearney, got to pick a flex this week. Full PPR, Gus Bus versus Jaylen Warren. Ravens got the Browns, one of the toughest defenses, if not the toughest defense. One of the lowest projected point totals, I think, of the week. Steelers get the Packers in the Super Bowl rematch. They're a bit soft to running backs.
Yeah, I mean, and Jaylen Warren's been fucking good. Like, he's been good. I wouldn't even say he's been like decent. I think he's been pretty good. Like he had, I think, 100 yards from scrimmage last week. Like, he's been producing, especially in PPR. He's been producing every single week. He's giving you 8 to 12, like clockwork, like just over and over and over again. And I know that's, some people are not a proponent of playing to be safe and people want to chase upside, but I mean, with the Browns defense, Gus Edwards had 5 carries last week and turned into 2 touchdowns. Like, he's their goal line back now, which is great to see as somebody that rostered him all year and was hoping for something like this to happen. But extremely, extremely volatile based on those touchdowns. And I'm just not that guy. You need him to get to the 1. And with this Cleveland defense, I think it's going to be pretty difficult. I'm leaning Jaylen Warren. In full PPR especially, he's going to give you a few points through the air. He's going to be efficient on the ground because I think he's been efficient all year. And it's a plus matchup, or at least I believe it's a plus matchup in terms of true matchup rank. I'm pretty sure it's like in the top 7. I think they're 6th or something like that, at least the last time I checked. So it's a good matchup for him. I would go Jaylen Warren. And if you're someone who likes to bank on the potential to score 3 touchdowns in a game and have 40 yards rushing, then Gus Edwards is your guy. I think it's going to be tough sledding for that run game against Cleveland, and I'm leaning Jaylen Warren's floor on this one.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. In true matchup rank, I'm actually surprised they're 14th, but against purely rushing, they're 7th. Jaylen Warren does get quite a few receptions. I didn't realize when I look at his game logs, he's getting like 6 targets a game, like for half the season. Even at his worst, he's getting about like 2-3 targets. I mean, what a great floor. I mean, half the time he's doing better as a receiver than as a rusher. I don't know if that's because Pat Freiermuth has been out and they've been lacking kind of like someone, in like the short to mid range, because Connor Hayward's been starting at tight end as well. Or at least playing a lot of snaps at tight end, and just not being that big of a, like a weapon. Like he gets some clutch plays at times. He can be very good. Nothing against him, obviously, but just in terms of like fantasy production, it doesn't seem like the tight end position is like being replaced. So I think with Pat Freiermuth out again, we could see this trend continue. I don't know if it's because of that, but just a little extra something. I do think Jaylen Warren is the slightly better play. But obviously, Gus Bus can bust out like a touchdown at any time, which is really infuriating if you don't own him, and really great if you do own him, I guess.
Yeah,
it's probably not fun to try to figure out when you should start him or not.
I mean, for context, I have him in a league, and I'm starting like Jerry Jeudy over him, which maybe I'll regret. But I'm very I'm just scared of the matchup and the way that his production has been coming. He did have 2 of his 5 carries were touchdowns, and then one of them was like a 40-yard run or something like that. So, like he has some burst, and he's been an efficient runner for his entire career. This is probably the least efficient he's been, but like he can make those splash plays, but it's just not the defense to do it against. So, I'm I'm not starting him this week. I'm shying away. And maybe it's goofy just because of how hot he's been, but I just think we could see him finally not find the end zone, and that scares the shit out of me. So
yeah, it's gonna be a tough week. I think we're pretty set on Jalen Warren here. Alejandro has another question: Kyler or Carr this week? It's not like a fun situation, but I will say this: if you want to almost guarantee your best performance being a low end quarterback one, high end quarterback two performance, go with Derek Carr for the safety. If you want to try to get like 25, 30 points, I might take a gamble on Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in total agreement, and I think Carr's floor is higher than people think, and I also think like the guy's been slinging it for 300 plus yards in like 3 of his last 5 games or 3 of his last 4. Like he's been throwing the fucking football because that run game is abysmal, and it's a plus matchup with Minnesota. So I don't know. I agree with you though. I think if you're looking for safety and you're looking for reliability, then I think Carr is back. I think that we're past the injury. I think the offense is clicking a little bit better. I've heard nothing about Michael Thomas, so I'm gonna make the assumption that he's playing. Not like it's like some major factor, but I mean it helps when he's playing versus when he's not. So yeah, I would agree. I'm gonna go Carr. I know I said earlier that I'm probably starting Kyler Murray in a bunch of places. But when you have an option like Carr, I'm willing to wait a week to see what happens. But if you're chasing upside, then yeah, go Kyler for sure.
It's worth noting, I'm looking at the true matchup rank. The Atlanta Falcons, 7th best matchup for quarterbacks, but 1st for rushing quarterbacks, which really sucks because I really don't know how much rushing we're going to get out of Kyler and how efficient that's going to be. But the Minnesota Vikings are actually pretty difficult, 24th in true matchup rank. They've actually improved their defense tremendously since last season, since their quote-unquote fraud playoff run that ended at the hands of the New York Giants. That being said, yeah, Carr, he's a pretty solid, safe option. I think we're fine with playing him and waiting a little bit. Who should sit out of James Cook, James Madison? James Madison.
You got James Madison on your mind?
I was listening to Hamilton the other day. Or Aaron Jones.
I'm sitting Alexander Madison. We saw Aaron Jones get unleashed last week, as we were told we were going to, and you've already buttered up James Cook a shit ton today. So I just think Madison is the odd man out here. And New Orleans, traditionally just stout against everything running back related. I normally am fading running backs against New Orleans, and I don't like Alexander Madison in a normal week. Granted, the loss of Cam Akers should help his usage and probably get him much closer to a workhorse role again. But I just think he's the odd man out. I mean, I don't think he's a terrible, horrible play or anything like that, but I just think James Cook is in too smash of a spot, and Aaron Jones is Aaron Jones, and I can't bench him if he's active.
Yeah, Aaron Jones has been heating up recently. That injury was kind of like limiting him. It kind of looked like he was finished. I mean, I don't want to say that because he's such a great player, but last week he put on an absolute show. Or at least like as close to a show as you can put on after coming back from injury and kind of getting back up to speed. Yeah, Madison's a weird case because I don't believe the Vikings really added another running back since Cam Akers, towards Achilles or whatever it was. But that being said, like the run game is just so inefficient. I think it's the run blocking as well that's just been an issue because I think I was looking at it like a couple days ago. It just wasn't there compared to like the great pass blocking that they were having. Obviously Akers does open up. Akers being out does open up more for Madison, but yeah, he hasn't been very efficient. It's really going to be like, can they get in the end zone and then give him that touchdown? And is he going to break off a big play again? Because he wasn't like a smash last week, but like coming into the game, I think he was my RB bust and then he had like a big reception, like a 40 or 50-yard reception, and then he had like a 4-yard touchdown reception, which obviously they count. So like,
Right.
I lost there, whatever. But like, man, even with Akers out, I feel like the upside just isn't there, which I think you touched on a lot. I'd rather take a shot on James Cook and Aaron Jones. I think Madison is unfortunately the odd man out, but should start to get more opportunities and could, show off with a touchdown this week. Charles Kearney, 0.5 PPR. With Higgins out, need 2 flex out of these guys. James Conner, Jalen Warren, Noah Brown, and Jerry Jeudy. Leaning Conner and Jeudy, but can be swayed. You are so lucky. We love to sway people. I think we're both going to be pretty high on James Conner being like the centerpiece of these.
Yep.
Half PPR.
Half PPR. I think I go Jalen Warren. Just because he's the whole product and his receiving usage could feasibly be better than Jerry Jeudy without even putting into account his rushing and his ability to, maybe score when I'm not sure Jerry Jeudy fucking has it in him apparently. So Noah Brown, I can understand with Nico Collins being out, but Robert Woods was just deemed active. So I'm shying away from Noah Brown a little bit. I'm hoping that matchup is electric though. I'm pretty excited for it, but I think I'm going James Conner for sure, as you said we would, and Jalen Warren over Jerry Jeudy just because it's half PPR.
I'm kind of torn. I think Noah Brown is a pretty easy bench for me. I mean, we've seen what this offense can do with CJ Stroud. Like, the sky is the limit, but I'm not going to bank on that happening a second week in a row. Like, I think it was either one of Nico Collins or Tank Dell did also like phenomenally with Noah Brown, and the other one did like they had a good performance, but like comparably with with like the 5 touchdowns and 400 yards. So I mean, it's pretty easy to see someone get left out on any given week, and Noah Brown would naturally be the guy that you would bank on. So yeah, I'm not going to spend that much time, but great performance.
Yeah.
Listen, man, the Bills' defense just hasn't looked the same since the injuries, Tre'Davious White and Matt Milano. They're going to be playing from behind. I kind of want Jeudy here.
Okay.
Just very slightly. I don't think he has the floor of Jalen Warren, even in half PPR.
Yeah.
Which actually, I guess the half PPR would favor Warren in a sense, wouldn't it? Okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's pretty easily Jalen Warren for me, honestly. It's not sexy, but neither is Jerry Jeudy for that matter. I mean, like, we've seen no ceiling out of him. So it's like, if you're going to go with 2 ceilingless plays, I'm going to take the higher floor, and that's Jalen Warren.
Yeah, Jeudy got his first touchdown of the season last week. Courtland Sutton has he's tied for the second most touchdowns in the league, or I guess whatever it is, like the 4th, whatever, because multiple people are tied with 7, and then he's got 6. Yeah, I mean, like Jerry Jeudy, like if he doesn't get a touchdown, what are you getting in half PPR? Like maybe double digits. I think I could find Jalen Warren getting close to that, and then some a little more.
I think with Jerry Jeudy, you're seeing like fucking 4 for 47, and then
I think you could do a little better than that. I mean,
we're just not. I don't know. I don't know. Jerry Jeudy has been sad for me, so I don't think we should spend too much time on this, honestly.
Yeah. So
Connor,
we'll go with the running backs here.
Connor and Warren, yeah, especially in a half PPR setting. I just normally favor running backs in general, but if we're going to take one with passing volume like Warren that we talked about before, then I just think that's the extra thing to get him over the top there.
All right. Rudy says, thanks, guys. One more question. I have Laporta as my tight end and Dell in my flex. Should I start Kincaid against Denver over either of them?
That's tough. Wow, that's tough for me. Yeah. Oh shit. No. I mean, like Laporta versus Kincaid is just like they're both fucking studs right now. Like it's hard to bench either of them, but with Tank Dell in this situation, I can't. I don't know. I'm not making. I don't know how I can make a lineup change at this point.
Yeah, I mean the Broncos are naturally going to be very soft against basically every position. They're fourth in true matchup rank, but at the same time, you can see the game just running away. Like they don't need Dalton Kincaid to do a lot. Last week, he had 11 targets, 10 receptions, 81 yards. He almost had a touchdown. He tripped twice, which is like really annoying. Like it's not his fault really. I mean, like, okay, maybe he could have like jumped, but like who am I to say that like he could have in the moment jumped over the defender instead? Like the dude got flipped over. Like it's not really his fault. And that led to a fumble. I don't think they're gonna really take away playing time for that. Dawson Knox, I don't believe is coming back anytime soon either.
No.
Yeah. I mean, like listen, Kincaid on any given week can blow up, but I think the other guys have more of a path towards like consistent points. Like if you simulated this game 1,000 times, who's going to be better, Laporta and Tank Dell or Kincaid? I think I'd rather take the shot on the guys who are probably going to need to like throw a little more and just have a more competitive game.
Sure.
Denver's offense is good. They can keep it like very competitive. They could even win with the defensive issues to Denver, but to Buffalo. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to make any lineup. I'm going to make any changes here like you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the way Kincaid's been playing, it's like, how do you bench him? But you can say the same thing about Laporta and Dell. So it's just like you had your lineup. Like I'm such a lineup tinkerer on Sundays, and more often than not, it fucks me. So if that's how you had your lineup all week, then I'm leaving it that way, especially just because it's so close. You're just nitpicking and you're trying to find the right thing. And, I learned from test taking, just leave your multiple choice answer the way you had it originally and just don't change it.
All right. We got a really tough one from Steve here. Half PPR start 2, Tyler Algier, Rashid Shaheed, Trenton Irwin, Kyle Phillips, Michael Wilson. This is the waiver wire in a lot of my leagues. But I am starting some guys from this list, I think. I think I have Algier in like a lot of leagues because Swift is out. Against the Cardinals, I really do like Tyler Algier. I mean, it seems like they're pretty set on using him a whole bunch, especially on the goal line. Hopefully Jonnu Smith doesn't take too many of his red zone carries, right, guys? If you know, you know.
That's tough.
Are you in on Algier, or is there someone else?
Yeah, especially in half PPR, I'm going to go Algier here. The matchup is too good. We know they're going to use him in the fucking red zone because whatever. And then I think I'm going Shaheed as the other option. He's shown to have a rapport with Derek Carr, and like I was saying earlier, I think Derek Carr is back. Obviously, by his passing yardage, we're seeing he can throw the football at least now, which is good. Trenton Irwin is more of a PPR play to me if you're gonna start him with T. Higgins being out, but I feel like I want to hope that Boyd gets more work instead of it being. And I know Chase is banged up, so I can see the path to Irwin, but with half PPR, I'm just chasing the biggest ceiling at that point. If there isn't a more consistent option. And Kyle Phillips, I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole. I mean, he's good for 2 for 20, Michael Wilson, like we had talked about a little bit earlier, I'm not trusting him just yet. There's definitely upside with Kyler Murray being back. So for me, it's between Shaheed and Irwin. And, Shaheed can give you 10 fantasy points in one play, and I'm not sure Trent Irwin can really do that. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit, but we've just seen Shaheed have that connection with Carr, and what I'm hoping is a back and forth matchup. We'll see how Dobbs plays, but I like Shaheed a lot. And depending on what the fuck happens with Michael Thomas, like he could be the wide receiver 2 this week and get even more work. I don't know what's happening there. So I'm going to go Shaheed and Algier as my 2.
I think that's where I'm leaning as well. Trenton Irwin did have a big blow-up game against the Cardinals. 10 targets, 8 receptions, but 60 yards. So, not the best. I mean, that's 10 points in half PPR. Do I think that maybe they would be more inclined to throw this week? Do I think this can become a shootout? Absolutely. But like you said, I don't know how much it's going to favor Trenton Irwin more. I think he's going to be a very popular DFS play. One of those guys that you see on a screenshot that won you $1 million. Kyle Phillips heating up a little bit with Will Levis there, seeing his targets increase just a little bit. Michael Wilson, like we said, he's a deep threat. He's a big play guy. But at the same time, Shaheed has shown a lot more blow up weeks for at least from what I can tell, or at least the peaks that we want. So begrudgingly, I don't want to start any of these guys really outside of Algier with much confidence, but I think I will go Rashid Shaheed as well. Big freaking Will with another one. Half PPR, Michael Wilson or Curtis Samuel. Now, I did not get a chance to see if Curtis Samuel was clear to play because it looked like he was possibly out.
I believe he is.
Okay. He
actually,
is expected to play. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going Curtis Samuel. He was too good when he was active to bench him for the upside of Michael Wilson, in my opinion. And, it's such a good matchup for him. If he's in, he's like, I picked him up off waivers and confidently am throwing him in my flex immediately. It's a PPR league, so it's a bit different. He is more of a receptions guy than a yardage guy. So, but I just think he has too much of a presence on that team right now, in a good matchup to bench him if he's active. So, I think it's maybe closer than I would have thought starting today. But I think I'm leaning Curtis Samuel here against Seattle.
That's where I'm going as well. In our sleepers and busts column, Curtis Samuel is my wide receiver sleeper this week. I also kind of listed Jamison Crowder as a little bit of a pivot if Curtis Samuel couldn't go. Maybe people are a little concerned because Jamison Crowder started to get an uptick in usage basically, but that was obviously because Curtis Samuel was hurt. It lines up basically perfectly. But yeah, he has a very good matchup this week. My column basically, my portion of that article basically covers a lot of it. But yeah, even in half PPR where Curtis Samuel does get a big bump down because he is that kind of possession guy, low A dot. You are kind of banking on a touchdown with him, but I really do think this game is going to be amazing for fantasy points, which means that it won't be because I have bad luck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think I'd rather take a shot on someone just a little bit safer. Even though I think Michael Wilson could absolutely explode. It's just with Kyler Murray, it's just a slight bump, and I think that pushes Curtis Samuel over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Petrop, the man, look at that beautiful photo right there, professional.
Uh-huh.
He says Kyler Murray or Trevor Lawrence this week.
I'm gonna go Kyler Murray. Trevor Lawrence against San Francisco is a bit scary for me. That offense it's just so hit or miss, and it seems like whenever they don't have Zay Jones in the lineup, things are not going awesome for them. So, and he's out this week, so that's not really it, but I mean it's a factor. He's a part of the offense, and I just San Fran is just too lethal. We can say they might be playing from behind and stuff, but I just think Trevor Lawrence has not been what I expected him to be this year. And I just am really excited about Kyler Murray coming back, and I'm plugging him in when I can. And I think this is one of those situations where it's really close. So I'm gonna take what I think is the higher upside with Kyler Murray, and just the more fun football play, in my opinion. I mean, which is not awesome analytical advice, but
it's fantasy football also. I mean, you should start high if you think he's awesome. He might not win you the championship, which sucks, but
yeah. And it's not like it's a much better matchup with Atlanta, but it is a better matchup. And I don't think you're getting some elite QB1 out of either of these guys, but if one of them had to produce that kind of day, I think it's Kyler Murray.
I think that's fair. I'm slightly leaning Trevor Lawrence here. San Francisco, pass defense is kind of, struggled at times. I think they're a little bit injured. I'm looking at true matchup rank. They're 18th, but they're especially generous against rushing quarterbacks. They're 9th in true matchup rank. Trevor Lawrence, maybe not having that great of a season compared to expectations. I mean, he hasn't thrown 3 touchdowns in a game yet. He hasn't even scored 3 touchdowns straight up. Like, you can't include rushing. But his rushing performances are kind of buoying him and keeping him up there, keeping him in that that high-end wide receiver 1, or I guess low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 range, with only one really, really bad performance, and that was against Kansas City when they really couldn't get anything going. I think I would slightly lean Trevor Lawrence. I know in the previous question with Derek Carr, we were saying he's kind of a safety play and Kyler's like the big play guy. I think it's a very similar situation here. But I do think there's a little more to be concerned about because I think San Francisco's defense can just shut anyone down at any moment. But I mean, I guess it really depends on what you're looking for. It's hard to tell right now. Do you know if you need a big performance? No, obviously not. And this London game isn't really giving you the points to tell you that really.
Mm-hmm.
I would slightly lean Trevor Lawrence, but I understand why Kyler Murray in a great passing matchup would be the guy. We got a lot of questions. Let's speed through these. Connor, pick 3 full PPR: Drake London, Calvin Ridley, Scary Terry, Kincaid, and Laporta. Ooh, this is a great problem to have. Just too many pretty good to very good guys.
Scary.
London's a weird one because you could just run on the Cardinals. So they don't need to really throw, but they are 7th in true matchup rank. And London is that kind of guy who really only needs a couple of big plays to produce what you expect.
Yeah, I think Scary Terry I'm going to start for sure in this matchup. I'm going to start there. Shit. I mean, London has been getting volume every week. He's been increasingly reliable, and I know he's coming back off the groin, and that could be a bit scary. I probably got to go London here too. And then Calvin Ridley is just feels like people are just so stuck on cost. Calvin Ridley he's just so unreliable. It's my note for him is that he has a wide receiver 4 floor and a wide receiver 1 overall ceiling. So it's I get it. That ceiling is so huge and you don't want to see him put up a 30 on your bench.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about this being a solid matchup for him. I'm just not sure about it. So I'm going Scary Terry. I'm going London, and I'm going. Fuck. I'll let you swing me on something because it's tough, man. We've already talked about Kincaid versus Laporta earlier and how it's kind of like a crapshoot. And so I don't know if you have any nuggets on Ridley. The
only thing on Ridley is he does get a ton of targets. It's just like you said, a very hit or miss. Sometimes he'll put up 122 yards and a touchdown. Sometimes he'll put up 20 yards. And I think it's just the state of this offense. That's how it is. If there was a week, I mean, I guess this isn't really the week, but I think I'm going to start the 3 wide receivers here just because I think the tight ends also offer a little bit of volatility. I think I do like Laporta a little more than Kincaid in terms of safety this week, but I think you're getting a decent amount of safety out of someone like Scary Terry. And your other 2 guys can kind of be high upside moonshots, but it really depends on the rest of your roster. If the rest of your roster is home run hits that can sink, you got to ask yourself, am I willing to take a 40 and possibly put up 200, or do I want a solid 120? I mean, you can't even guarantee that. Obviously, it's just sort of theory, but I'm going to go with the wide receivers here, just slightly because of the target numbers.
Yeah, it's fair. Ow. Yeah.
Benjamin, morning, fellas. Good morning, Benjamin. Half PPR, start 1 of Devin Singletary, Jerry Jeudy, Gabe Davis, Jerome Ford, Jahan Dotson. Man, I'm starting Jahan Dotson. Oh, actually, is he even playing? That's another question. A lot of injuries here.
He should be. Yeah, he should be.
Okay, that's what I thought was happening here. Yeah, it looks like Jahan Dotson is back. Outside of Gabe Davis, I don't know if anyone offers like the upside that Jahan Dotson is showing right now. It might just be a hot streak, but I'm riding that hot streak.
Yeah.
He's doing phenomenally. It's a matchup where they're probably going to have to throw a lot. It looks like they're getting the ball out of Sam Howell's hands faster.
I won't argue. I won't argue with you there. I'm down for that. I've already said a bit on Jerry Jeudy and how he's kind of mad, not much of a ceiling at all. Singletary, I'm not touching the Houston run game. I like Ford. I will admit I do like Ford, especially in a half PPR format. I know Baltimore has been, a very solid defense, but his volume has been really strong. I mean, he had like 20 touches last week, and he didn't do a masterful amount of work with it, but he just provides such a good floor, and we've seen his ceiling, 70-yard touchdowns and like whatever. But yeah, I totally understand, riding the flame with Jahan Dotson there, even with Curtis Samuel back. We're imagining that to be a dogfight out there. So I'm okay with Dotson. Gabe Davis put up a 0 last week, which means this week he's going to put up 26. So I can also understand Davis against Denver. But yeah, if you want to go the hot hand and not be risky or suboptimal, then yeah, I guess we can run Dotson here for sure.
All right. Constantine, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Do I start Geno versus Washington or Baker versus Tennessee? Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you so much. I mean, listen, man, I'm starting Geno. I love this matchup so much for throwing. Baker obviously has a great passing matchup, but listen, just because Geno had a bad game against Baltimore, one of the best defenses in the league, doesn't mean I'm going to bench him against one of the worst passing defenses in the league. Washington has just had a fall from grace. It's really unfortunate. Even before that, they traded away their two best pass rushers. What do you think, Nick?
I'm with you. We just saw Geno put up the shittiest game of the year by a wide margin for him. I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure 2 points is really bad. We're not going to see that again. And like I already talked about earlier, JSN is picking up steam, and we know Metcalf is another week healthier. Lockett's another week healthier. Everybody's back, and it's just the matchup. You were talking about earlier, like for Trevor Lawrence, it's not like or Calvin Ridley, it's not the matchup. But for Geno Smith, this is the matchup. This is what you want to see. So hopefully, I'm streaming Geno Smith in a situation where I could have chosen Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield. So there we go. I love Geno in this situation. I think both can and both will produce, but I'm with you on Geno for sure.
All right. Constantine with another question. Pick 2, full PPR, Justice Hill, Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, or Chris Godwin. He will be playing through an illness. I'm sure he'll get a healthy amount of snaps, but there's only so much we can assume about it.
Bro, I mean, with this cast, you gotta put Godwin in at the bare minimum. He's playing. Like the thing says, he is playing. So Godwin and
Marvin Mims was like having such a great start to the season. I mean, it was probably buoyed on from like X amount of receptions, like 5 on like 5 routes. Just hasn't really had it. Justice Hill, not really sure if I want to trust him in this matchup.
I know, and especially with Keaton Mitchell doing his thing last week, and he's active, confirmed. So that's tough. I mean, this is just like a wing and a prayer with these guys, honestly. Like Josh Reynolds, we got J-Mo. Is he ever going to play? Maybe not, but like he's taking snaps, and Donovan, like Jameson Williams, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Josh Reynolds are all the same guy. They just traded for DPJ, who I actually am quite fond of. I think he's a pretty good player, better than Josh Reynolds in my opinion. But Josh Reynolds, like I don't know. It's hard to predict how they're going to use that wide receiver room. But Marvin Mims, like you said, has been nothing, and Justice Hill is in a 3-way committee in a terrible matchup. It's kind of like fucking cross your fingers and pray. I think I would go Josh Reynolds against the Chargers.
That's from thinking as well. He's had a lot of games where he's pretty solid for like 2, 3, 4 receptions and like 50, 60, 70 yards. And I think out of these guys, if you can get that or at least like approach that, you really can't ask for more. It's not a great situation to be in. And obviously I will also take the risk on Godwin here with the other guys being not very fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's just no contest really.
John DePinto, Myers or London half PPR? Jacoby Myers is actually my wide receiver bust of the week. But he's always in play for a touchdown. That's the only thing. But his receiving game logs haven't been very great. He's versing the Jets, who have like some of the best corners in the league. You know, DJ Reed, Michael Carter, and of course, Ahmad Sauce Gardner. That being said, do you play him over London? Do you play London over him?
I'm going London. I'm going London. Not to cut you off,
yeah.
But
I'm trying to rationalize it. I'm trying to think if like there's something that I'm missing. Like it's not like Jacoby Myers can't outscore Drake London. He absolutely can. Like he'll probably get more targets too. And the Falcons could just run the ball the entire game. But I do like Drake London just a little bit more.
Yeah, and a couple weeks ago, I think me, you, and Matt were just saying you can't bench Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers has been so good. Like we got to keep playing him. But the NFL moves fast. And we're at a spot now where Aiden O'Connell is just not doing it. And, we saw him not produce with Myers earlier in the season when Jimmy G went down. And I don't like the situation or the matchup personally. And I know London carries risk coming off of the injury. And, like you keep saying, they want to run and they can run against Arizona, but Drake London is going to be involved regardless. I think it's London. I don't love either play, but we're given the cards we're dealt, so I'm going London here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Aiden O'Connell didn't look bad last week at all. He actually looked very confident. The thing is, like, also the pass rush just couldn't get past Las Vegas's offensive line. Like they're very good. Even a strong pass rush can only do so much at times. Jacoby Myers didn't have a great game. He didn't really need to. They were just running the ball pretty effectively and getting Devontae Adams the ball. He basically saved his fantasy day with that 17-yard rushing touchdown. I don't know if that's something we can bank on every week, but it seems like they kind of want to manufacture touches for Jacoby Myers. But I think we're pretty set with Drake London. Constantine, standard league. I have Tua and Stroud, and I traded Tua for DeAndre Swift because of playoff schedule. Thoughts? Well, CJ Stroud plays the Tennessee Titans twice in the fantasy playoffs, I believe, including the championship game, Week 17. So, I mean, listen, in a standard league where you're only starting one quarterback, you don't need two quarterbacks. So that's an amazing trade, actually.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can trade a quarterback for a running back, you're probably winning.
Yeah, especially a stud like DeAndre Swift.
Absolutely.
Tim Petrop again. Algier or Najee? I might actually go Najee this time. Just very slightly. I mean, listen, obviously I love Algier in his matchup this week. The only thing is Najee does, even though it's not the same as when Ben Roethlisberger was giving him like 12 targets a game, he's still getting like a pretty solid 2-3 targets a game minimum. Algier is just not. He's very inconsistent with how these come. I'm really not sure like if Taylor Heineke is going to be the guy to like do it for him. I think Najee just offers just a little more safety. And I think that degree of safety that he offers is worth more than like a 2 touchdown game from Algier when he only gets like 50 total yards, maybe 60. Because if he doesn't have a breakout run, it's going to be pretty difficult.
It's the Gus Edwards predicament from earlier.
And like in a better matchup, at least. That's the only thing.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a great matchup for sure. It's just that like you were alluding to, we know he's really not producing outside of his groundwork. So I'm gonna go Najee as well. I do think it's close. I would not at all be surprised to see Algier score a touchdown today. But I try not to predict touchdowns because they're just so situational and so difficult to try to put pen to paper on. So, you know, neither play super sexy, but I'll agree with you on Najee in this circumstance.
All right. Benjamin Hare. One more for you. Half PPR. One of Amari Cooper, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, Jordan Addison, Brian Robinson. How are you only able to start one of these guys? You have
That's
great
so
team.
tough.
Amari Cooper against the Ravens, Javonte against the Bills, Najee against the Packers, Jordan Addison, and Brian Robinson against the Seahawks.
I'm going Javonte in this situation. We're seeing his usage go up. We're seeing his productivity go up. As you were saying before, Buffalo has not looked the way that that they did prior to all the injuries that they've gone through. And I understand though it's fucking tough to bench Amari Cooper, man. With Deshaun Watson, he's just producing lights out. I mean, he's been, and nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about Amari Cooper, but he's been playing well all year. And Baltimore is beatable for wide receivers, so maybe I'm backtracking a little bit. I'm between Javonte and Amari Cooper pretty sizably. Even with Osborne being out, even with no Jefferson, it just means Addison is likely to get the Lattimore treatment, and I'm not sure how true that is, but at least on half of his routes, he's probably going to be against the guy, and he's playing some of his best football. So I'm just not looking at the players after Najee Harris. So whatever you think between Amari Cooper and Javonte Williams, I can vouch for, but in a half PPR and with the way Javonte's playing lately, I think we might see him finally trending up and being the guy that I at least wanted him to be for a while now. So, but I can totally understand starting Amari Cooper in this situation.
It's tough because like you said, Amari Cooper, great. Even Jordan Addison, great. But these are like bottom 10 matchups, sometimes bottom 5. Like the Ravens are not a matchup you want to target. Doesn't mean they're unbeatable. Amari Cooper has shown that he can, kind of get past that, even when Deshaun Watson hasn't looked very good. But the problem is Deshaun Watson hasn't looked very good. They're playing one of the best defenses. Arguably, these are the two best defenses in the league right now in terms of how they're performing. I think I'm going to go with Javonte. I think the Bills are a lot more beatable, obviously. They're not a plus matchup or a minus matchup. They're straight down the middle for running backs in terms of true matchup rank.
Yeah.
But man, he gets so many touches now. He seems to be back. I'm going to slightly lean Javonte here.
Yep.
Michael Schissel. Any Justin Jefferson news? Hey, fellas, disregard. I have bad sources. I will disregard.
Skull.
I actually do have news. He's coming back. He told me personally. Just kidding. John DePinto. He got it in at 11:59. Obviously, if he got it after, we took a while, so we would have answered it. Thoughts on Christian Kirk versus San Francisco?
Start him.
Yeah, I think the slot is where you can really hurt San Francisco. It's Isaiah Oliver there is their slot corner. Very beatable. Christian Kirk has shown that he can be I think significantly more consistent than Calvin Ridley in terms of his performances. Let's just pull up his game logs. San Francisco, obviously, like we said, a very beatable matchup. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's not going to put up Calvin Ridley numbers, but he has the opportunity to put up double digits even in half PPR, and that's without a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm starting Christian Kirk every week at this point. I'm not a Christian Kirk fan, but he caters to Trevor Lawrence's style of play, and it works with the offense. And the whole discrepancy between Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley this year has been everything inside and outside the numbers. And Kirk just runs reliable routes in reliable spots and easier throws to make. And him and Lawrence obviously have that connection. And I don't really see any matchup where I'm benching him. He's just been too reliable, too productive. And it's not like he's Dolphins Jarvis Landry that's just going 5 for 50 every single game. He's putting up real numbers, and he's been not good but great. So yeah, I'm definitely cool with playing Kirk versus San Fran because I'm good playing Kirk versus everybody.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, guys, if you have a super last minute question, get it in. It is 12:06. I want to see how this Colts game is doing. Do you have it on TV right now?
I've been watching it the entire
how,
time.
How has it been?
It's been terrible.
Is it still 7-3?
It's
really
10-6. 10-6. There's 2.5 minutes left.
Go. Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine being in Germany and you miss out on Tua versus Mahomes, and you get to watch this.
Yep.
Hey, at least Pittman's doing good. I just pulled it up. He's having a good game.
Yeah.
Nick, where can the people find you?
I don't really produce football content very often outside of the show, but Bollier_Nick. There might be a scene where you can see it. I don't think I can see my name right now, but because I'm not going to try to spell it out. But yeah, so here I am.
There you go.
There I am. Yeah, and if you're looking for football content, I'm not your guy. I post sad music and sometimes funny tweets, at least to me, that get 2 likes. So
your tweets are hilarious.
Thank you. But yeah, that is where you can find me on X, on the Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Don't ever call it X. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great week 10. I hope you win all your matchups. Unless you're versing me or Nick, have a great weekend.
Amen.